Amazon's yearly Prime event is around the corner, and we have some great suggestions on what we've personally used that have helped our girls with sensory regulation, elopement, transitions, and more. Before we get started, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for reminders of upcoming streams. Let's get started. Hi, Embracers. Today's a different kind of episode.
Yes, welcome back.
So we were thinking, hey, Amazon Prime is around the corner. For those of you outside of the US, I'm not sure how that works outside internationally, but in the United States, it's kind of like a Black Friday event that they do annually where you get a ton of like great deals on Amazon.com.
And what
So
better reason to buy things online than a holiday for it?
yeah. So we're huge Amazon users. And so we decided that it might be a good idea for us to share some of the items that we have personally used with our girls. They haven't really released what exactly is going to be out and available. So I'm not exactly sure what the deals are, but these are just some things that we've purchased from Amazon that have worked really well for us. And we're probably looking to see if they have some sales on these because there's a couple that we probably need to purchase more of. So we're going to just go through a couple of these and hopefully you guys will find them useful.
All right, let's do it, Leah.
So I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share here for those of you who are watching the video. For those of you who are on audio only, you can either tune into the video, but I will also put links to these products in the video description and on the podcast description. So no need to follow along if you can't. But the very first one that I want to talk about is what all parents really need who have eloping kids, and that is some sort of like security system. So we have in our house the Simply Safe security system. It's just like your other camera systems. So you can basically have video monitoring, but it also has like door alarms, window alarms. You can add additional things too. Like, for example, if your kid's anything like ours and is really into like water play, our oldest is not too much of a problem, but our youngest tends to get into like the sink and the bath if she's not being watched. So if they are prone to like flooding your bathroom or something like that because of the sensory part, they also have like water alarms that you can put like around the sinks or the floor to alert you if there's any potential flooding, things like that. So the Simply Safe 12-piece wireless home security system is the one that I personally recommend and we have used. And yeah, what do you think, Matt? Has it
I'm a
been
big
working out
fan.
good for us?
Well, my thing is, I'm a big fan of the door, not alarm, but like what do you call it, like detection. So like if a door
Oh,
opens,
the
like an
little
ex
beep?
yes. So
Yeah.
if an exterior door opens, and we've got them set up on all our exterior doors, we hear like a little doo doo like throughout the house. And so like at first, like it was kind of like, what is that sound? Until you kind of get used to it, and then now it's just like a part of our life. So like if a kid were to open the door and we didn't really know where they were at, we hear the little noise and we're like, okay, they're exiting the house. So for me, that's always kind of like a nice little like safety net of sorts, because like you might not always have like eyes on them 24/7, but like if you're around the house and there's no other like adults or whatever and you hear the little doo-doo, you know, like an exterior door has opened. So then you kind of know like, oh, okay, like I need to like go like address that. And I mean, we've run into that a handful of times like with our youngest. So I think sometimes like I'm taking our oldest daughter to a therapy that our youngest doesn't have, but because they love going to therapy, the youngest will sometimes like try and chase after us after she finds out like we're going to therapy for the older one. So Leah's at home with our younger one, and so she'll hear kind of the door beep or whatever, essentially that she's trying to like leave the house and chase after the car. So it is just kind of like a nice little like perk that they have that I find most useful probably.
Yeah, honestly, we don't even arm ours. We probably should arm it so that the alarm goes off if they leave, but we are pretty good and hypersensitive to just hearing that beep of when a door is open or shut, and we know it's not us. So even having it disarmed works really well for us because we know exactly where our kids are at all times, essentially, and of course the video monitoring. So that's definitely something that we recommend. That's one of the probably the most important if you have an eloping child, or even if you just want to keep an eye on them visually.
Yep,
The
I agree.
sec
It's game changer. Sorry, keep going.
the second one that I really like, This is the Echo Glow Multicolor Smart Lamp. It works with Alexa, but we don't use Alexa. We're kind of old school, so any of these smart devices, we don't even use those extra smart features. You can if you want to, but what's really awesome about the Echo Glow is that it has different colored lights that you can choose, and you can basically set them to turn on during certain times by using an app on your phone. We were having a really hard time with our girls staying in quiet time or nap time and understanding when they're able to come out, when it's quiet time versus active playtime. So what we did is we got 2 of these Echo Glows, and they each have one in their bedroom, and we've color coordinated it to a red, yellow, green system. So red means it's bedtime, you have to stay in your bed. Yellow means it's quiet time, you can get out of your bed and quietly play or do anything you want as long as you stay in your room. And green means you're good to leave your room anytime you want. You don't have to be in your room at this point in time. And that was something that made a huge difference for us with our kids.
Yeah, it is nice being able to have or once we kind of work them through what the different colors mean, it's nice just to have another way to kind of like reinforce like, oh, okay, like now it's like bedtime, like we need to start like winding down and stop like bouncing and jumping off the walls and everything. So it is nice to have that, especially during the night. So if they wake up in the middle of the night and they're not sure, like, oh, should I like go and like play or something, they can look at their light and see like, oh no, it's still red, and they're like, so they can kind of go back to sleep essentially. So we've seen some big improvements there, because the kids used to like kind of like walk out of their rooms kind of in the middle of the night, and we'd have to kind of redirect them back to their beds. So it's nice having just kind of a reinforced item that's color coded and fun.
Yeah, they used to come and have a lot of sleep disruptions, and they'd be coming into our room all the time at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. So this is something that we've been able to use to let them understand the concept of time so that they can understand how much time has gone by, because otherwise they'll be like, oh, it takes forever. I don't know what time it is. It's morning, it's daytime, especially in the summer when the days are long and they think that it's daytime, but it's actually nighttime. So this has been a lifesaver for us. So again, that's the Amazon Echo Glow Multicolor Smart Lamp. The other cool thing about that is that you can also associate it with other Amazon products. So you can tie it to like the speaker and also play music and stuff with it. We haven't done that yet, but that's just another perk. Now this one, Matt, I'm sure you love this one.
Oh my gosh, yes, this is on so many of our doors in our house.
Yes, this is a 4-pack of the home security door reinforcement lock.
Right. So, and it's like I think a like super lock. It kind of is like a 4-inch little latch or whatever that it kind of like secures. So we have like our handle locks on our exterior doors, and some of our doors actually have like a bolt lock. This is more so because our kids are getting to the age where they know how to unlock the handle, they know how to unlock the deadbolt. So we kind of put this up higher as like a like last resort for like a locked door during nights, to make sure like no one's trying to elope out of the house. So it's like a latch system that the kids aren't able to reach and get to, but mostly just to kind of keep everyone kind of an extra layer of security for our house kind of at night, because we'll make sure all our exterior doors have their little latch on so the kids aren't able to like sneak out in the middle of the night when everyone else is sleeping.
Yes, exactly. And this one is one that we've purchased multiple times because we have found it so useful. What we learned about this specific lock is that unlike most of those other top locks, this one's really difficult for a child to figure out how to unlock themselves. Honestly, we've had like adult
We've had
relatives.
family that have been like locked, yeah, in the house as we're trying to direct them how to like pull it out and spin it around to kind of get out. But once you
Yeah,
figure out how to do it, I mean, any adult is able to. I mean, should be able to get it pretty easily.
yeah. So if you have one of those kids that has been able to easily figure out all of your top locks, or they're really smart and clever in unlocking doors, this one's one that might work better for you because it's a little trickier to figure out how to lock. So that one is something I definitely recommend, and we will probably be purchasing more. I think we have them on almost every door in the house, but now that we finished our basement, we'll need a few more.
There we go.
So this next product is one that we love and use all the time. This is called the Govee floor lamp. too. And Govee is a really like notorious company when it comes to like cool lamps that are like multicolor, things like that, like inside lights, outside lights. But this is like a floor lamp that stands up. It's pretty tall. It's probably about what, 3 feet, 4 feet tall
I'd say
ish.
at
It's
least
pretty tall, right?
I was gonna say I think it's about your height, isn't it? It's
Maybe.
probably about
So
like 5, 4, 5, 5. Well, it probably says in the
something like
description.
that. Yeah, and this is a multicolor light that will sync with music and sound. So what you can do that's kind of cool about this is you can sync it with like your kid's TV or something like that, and it will flash according to the rhythm. It's got multiple settings, so it can do like strobe flashing. It could do something that I like to call like pong, because it basically has lights that pong a light in the middle back and forth. It's got like a couple like sparkle twinkle type of effects, but our kids absolutely love this lamp as like a sensory item. They have a little remote that comes with it, and they'll go through it and like switch all the settings, and then they'll start like making noises because it moves depending on sound that it hears. So if you talk or if you have music playing, it will sync its rhythm to that. So they will like yell at it and talk to it to try to get it to do things.
Word of caution, it is a lamp, so and our kids are very attracted to it, kind of like moths to what, like a flame?
Literally like moths
Yeah.
to a flame.
Right. So definitely like be cautious because like they get really excited that because they're talking or saying something, the lights are going according to like their rate of speech or whatever they're saying. So they get very close to it. And sometimes like we worry like they'll like tip it over or like break it or something. So definitely be aware like it is still a lamp. Like, yes, it is very cool, but always have like eyes on like the kids because it could get broken very easily. But it's also very nice because it has a very dim feature for it. So like with the new baby, it's very nice during like the middle of the night where you don't want to like turn on a light and like blind everyone to like be able to change a diaper because it has just enough light where you're able to see and not wake the baby essentially. So it is a very nice feature to, I mean, use just even outside of playing games with the kids.
Yeah, and I actually had gotten this for myself with an autism grant because I am very light sensitive and I am like migraine prone if I have really bright lights. And so the feature that I personally like and use the most of this lamp, because we keep it in our bedroom, is the dimmable feature. So you can have like a really bright light or you can do like a really soft light, and then you can choose between a white light or more of a yellow light. So that is also really good if you have a kid who's like sensitive to light. You can put this in their room as like a night light or a soft light without having to have that bright overhead light. Wasn't sure if you had anything to say.
No, I was just, yeah, just be careful if it's in a kid's room because obviously like they might break it. Our kids
Speaking of breaking things, the next item is the I don't know how you even say this, Ativafit 36-inch trampoline for kids. It's a foldable mini trampoline. There's a bunch of different types of foldable mini trampolines, but this is the closest to the one that we have. And our kids right now are on a huge mini trampoline addiction. We actually had to go out and buy a second one because they were fighting over the first one.
We have 3 trampolines out of
That's true.
necessity.
We have the outside
Yeah.
giant one too.
Right. They each have a like mini little, I mean, basically this mini trampoline in their room. So it's very helpful for our youngest because I mean she's very motion prone, likes gross motor activities. So sometimes she'll have a lot of energy and like during like quiet time, she'll need to go in there and bounce a little bit, trying to like settle down before she will like go to bed or take a nap or something. So sometimes we tell her to go on there and give us 20 bounces and so no, I definitely think it's a great idea just to have some way that they're able to get out of their energy out if they're not able to like run outside or like run around the house like crazy. At least they're in a contained area. The con is sometimes it sounds like the house is about to fall down with like the trampolines bouncing, but like given anything else, I mean, it's definitely the the way to go.
Yeah, so the reason we ended up having to get these and put them in their bedroom is because our youngest one is very sensory seeking and she has a hard time sleeping. And we basically learned with her that if we can get some of that sensory input in before bed, she's more likely to be able to fall asleep. So we wanted to give her like a sensory outlet in her room that's accessible to her at all times if she needs to basically bounce, jump, climb, whatever it may may be. So this has worked well in giving her kind of that break in her room because she has access to it at all times.
Plus, I mean, how cool is it? Like your kids would have like their own trampoline in their room for whatever they want to bounce.
There's this like fly that keeps tickling me. um, so the speaking of sensory regulation for bedtime, there's this hug sleep pod that I absolutely even have on my own wish list that I've been wanting, but I've been holding off because our youngest right now is actually the one who seems to really need something like this. So you guys have heard of weighted blankets, and I'm sure at this point you've also heard of those like sensory sleep sacks that you can put around your bed. They're like stretchy material, elastic kind of, and your kid can kind of sleep pocketed in your bed. So they're kind of like sandwiched in. It's thin, it's breathable, so it's an alternative to like the heavy, hot weighted blankets. So this Hug Sleep Pod is kind of like a combo of a cocoon and that stretchy type of sensory blanket. And what it does is it gives your child a warm kind of enveloped feeling. So they're like put in this sack that's kind of like a pocket that they're wrapped in tightly, and it kind of snuggles closely to them, but they still have some stretch. It reminds me of basically like a baby swaddle, like those elastic type of baby swaddles that I mean, now that we have a baby,
Right.
I'm
We're
more
using
familiar
that
with
again.
those now.
Yeah,
What we
exactly.
Yeah, we call them like the squirrel suits. So it's kind of like that, but like for older kids and adults. And honestly, I am like a huge fan of this. I really want one because it's like the perfect sensation, in my opinion, for people who feel like they need some like snug or sensory feedback to sleep without basically waking yourself up.
Well, I mean, and I think like the weighted blankets are great. I mean, and we still, I mean, use them periodically. But again, like we're in the South, and I mean, it's hot. So like, I mean, you don't.
Midsummer.
Right, you don't wanna always bust out, like, a heavy, thick blanket, when it's, like, 105 out. I mean, yeah, we have, like, a, HVAC system, but, like, I mean, it's still somewhat warm. So, I mean, at least this is much more, like, breathable, but you still get the same, like, closeness, like, tucked in feel that you would essentially with, like, a weighted blanket. So, I feel like they have a similar, attribute, but definitely, more beneficial if, you can't always use, like, a weighted blanket, given the circumstances.
Yeah, so the Hug Sleep Pod is basically a more temperature friendly alternative to the weighted blanket for summer or like hot temperature. It says it's a cooling blanket because of the material that's used on it, so it kind of wicks sweat away from you. So that's a really cool one. I am looking forward to getting myself one in the future. The next item that we have that is also pretty cool is called CordaRoy's Chenille beanbag chair. And it's a convertible beanbag that turns into a mattress. I don't really know why it's called a beanbag. It's not made out of beans. It's made out of more like a pillowy material, like memory foam chunks kind of. But it turns into a beanbag and then you can unfold it, lay it flat. And the reason we really like this is because it gives your kid two different alternatives for like a crash pad. So our kids sometimes like it to be in the beanbag form because they like that like cocoon feeling. They call it a bird's nest. So they like to be like nestled in the center of it. And then sometimes we can open it flat and basically it's the same exact principle as a crash pad. They can just jump on it.
And they had used it for a while as, like, an actual, like, mattress because they do give you a ton of those little, like, foam things, because I remember when we were trying to turn it into a beanbag, we had to take out, like, basically, like, garbage bags full of the little foam things because it was basically like a solid, like, ball, and you couldn't sit on it, so we had to, like, take some out so they can, like, kind of, like, push down and try and make, like, a little, like, nest out of it, but, I mean, we were using it for a while as just kind of like a, like, little, side sleeping or not a sleeping bag, a side mattress on the floor, which I mean seemed to work great. But now, right now, we're using it as like a bean bag, so they'll jump into a crash on it, and then sometimes like if they're in like a like nap mood and they want to be like in like a little cocoon, like a bird, they'll kind of like curl up and it will cover them up. So yeah, it definitely has very multi purposes for anything that you want to try and use it for.
Yeah, and you can adjust the firmness on it. So when it's in a beanbag form, it doesn't need as much foam. You can just unzip it and take some of the foam out. And then when it's laid flat, because you don't want them to hit the floor, you can throw in more of the foam stuffing into it. And they will also give you a free box of extra stuffing if you feel that it is not filled enough. You just contact them and they'll give you an extra free box to fill it with. So that was pretty cool. Their customer service was great. The next product I have here is called the Loop Engage Kids Earplugs. This is for ages 6 through 12. Younger kids probably can't wear them because they're like earbuds. They might fall out of their ears. But they also have adult ones beyond 12 years. So if you have an older kid, they have adult version of this. I personally use these Loop earplugs and I love them. I had previously tried out different kinds like the Flare brand. The Flare brand honestly didn't do much for me, so I ended up not using those. I also used Apple AirPods for a long time with the noise canceling, which is really great, but it also, after a while, kind of hurts your ears. So for me, the Loop Engage has been probably the better one. I use these when I go to like loud events, like if there's going to be loud music playing or anything like that. You just pop them in, they're really discreet. And they come in a bunch of cool colors. They also have different versions. So this is Loop Engage, which means you can hear more. There's like 3 different versions depending on how quiet you want it to be. They can filter out more and more sound. And some of them actually do have noise canceling if you want that. So that one's something that our kid has actually started to ask for because she's the type that actually does not like the over the ear headsets.
Which is somewhat new of a development, because she's our, kid who we'd always have the headphones for, but now it seems like she would rather, like, cover her ears versus wearing, like, the bulky headphones. So this was kind of like a alternative, like, she was still able to get, the cancellation for the noise, but it's not bulky, over the ears, and, I feel like it seems like she would potentially like these a little bit more than having the earmuffs on.
Yeah, and that's the same reason I use them. I also don't like the over the ear because it is bulky and uncomfortable. And if you're using them, for example, to sleep at night, you can't even use those because they really hurt your head. So the loop ones are really great. That's something that I would totally get, and you can just keep a couple of them around your house. The last item that we have for you guys, this is something that we recently purchased for our youngest as well. These are ankle weights. We got a 1 pound one for our daughter. That one was the one that was recommended by her OT. And this is to help with the sensory regulation. So, again, our youngest is highly sensory seeking, and things that have worked for her have been like the compression vests, the little starfish, which is that sensory sock, and other items like that. But the weights have been particularly helpful for like a school setting because it's not something as intrusive as like a sensory sock where like your whole body, you can't use it for school. So if you need your kid to be like sensory regulated, but you also want them to be able to have access to their hands and still do everyday things, then these ankle weights are really great. You just wrap them around. Our OT says no more than 15 minutes at a time, but talk to your child's OT and ask them specifically the weight and time limit for your kid before you get them.
And I mean, our, youngest daughter, ever since about the age of 2, they've kind of been working on, like, finding new ways to get her to do heavy work. So, this is a very easy way to do heavy work for 15 minutes because you don't have to change anything. She just wears the little anklets, and then everything is heavy work. So, yeah, it's definitely, been helpful, as far as getting her to kind of regulate more. Like, sometimes when she's very hyped up and kind of all over the place, it kind of pulls her in a little bit, more, so she's able to regulate a little bit easier and kind of settle down and get back to more of a neutral, for the rest of the day.
Yeah. So these are the Amazon Prime event deals that we are going to be looking at. We're looking at these specific items and a couple other ones. Amazon Prime Day runs every year in the summer. This year's going to be July 16th through 17th. So we will share out the links to the items that we mentioned here, specifically in our episode description, if you want to take a look at them. Other than that, if you guys have any other great autism Amazon finds, let us know. We want to hear it. Share it in the comments. We are going to be looking at deals deals. So if we find some deals, we'll share some there. If you find them, please let us know. We're going to snag as many as we can afford. Other than that, you can also continue to share in the conversation with us. You can join us on our private Embracing Autism community. Don't forget to become a member today at autismwish.org. You'll have access to our community. You'll have access to us and some extra resources and support we have there. Thanks for hanging out with all of us. We hope you guys had a great holiday and enjoy the Prime event. We'll see y'all next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.